If someone you love is between the ages of 75 and 85, and they're still doing even a few of the things I'm about to describe, you need to understand just how remarkable that actually is. Because what looks like ordinary daily life to them is, according to the people who study aging for a living, one of the strongest signs of a life being lived exceptionally well. We throw around phrases like aging gracefully so often that we've almost drained them of meaning. But there's real science behind why certain habits, certain small daily choices, separate people who simply grow older from people who genuinely thrive well into their 80s. And if you or someone in your family is doing these things without even realizing how significant they are, this is worth sitting with. Let's start with the first one, because it's the one researchers keep coming back to more than almost any other single factor, and that's continuing to prepare your own meals. It sounds almost too simple to matter, but cooking for yourself at this age requires a remarkable stack of abilities working together at once. Planning ahead, standing for extended periods, managing knives and heat safely, remembering steps in sequence, and making decisions about nutrition that your body genuinely needs. Geriatric researchers have long pointed to meal preparation as one of the clearest everyday markers of what's called functional independence, the ability to manage the complex tasks of daily life without assistance, and it's consistently linked to better outcomes in mobility, cognition, and even mood, because there's something deeply stabilizing about maintaining control over something as fundamental as what and how you eat. If someone in their late 70s or 80s is still standing at their own stove, still deciding what goes into their own body rather than having every meal decided and delivered for them, that's not a small thing. That's a genuine marker of physical coordination, cognitive sharpness, and personal agency all working in concert. The second thing is walking without assistance, and specifically walking with intention, not just shuffling from one room to another out of necessity, but actually going for a walk because they want to, around the block, through a park, to a neighbor's house and back. Mobility researchers who study aging populations consistently find that gait speed, essentially how quickly and steadily someone walks, is one of the single best predictors of overall health outcomes in older adults, so reliable that some clinicians half-jokingly call it the sixth vital sign, right up there with blood pressure and heart rate. A person in their 80s who can still walk a reasonable distance without a cane, without holding onto furniture, without needing someone beside them, is demonstrating an entire cast systems working properly at once, muscle strength in the legs and core, regulated by the inner ear and nervous system, cardiovascular capacity to sustain the effort, and the confidence that comes from trusting your own body. That confidence matters more than people realize, because fear of falling causes many older adults to stop moving long before their bodies actually force them to, and the ones who keep walking, who keep trusting their legs, are actively protecting the very independence that fear would otherwise take from them. The third habit is continuing to manage their own finances and appointments, paying their own bills, tracking their own medications, remembering when the next doctor's visit is, keeping a checkbook or a calendar that they alone maintain. This might seem like a purely practical matter, nothing to do with health at all, but cognitive researchers view the ability to handle what's called instrumental activities of daily living, tasks like managing money, scheduling, and organizing information, as one of the clearest windows into executive function, the part of the brain responsible for planning, sequencing, and decision-making. Executive function is often one of the first things to decline when cognitive health is genuinely deteriorating, which means someone in their 80s who's still confidently managing their own affairs, still catching a billing error, still remembering which pills come with breakfast and which come at night, is demonstrating that this critical part of their brain is still firing exactly the way it should. It's not just about competence, it's about dignity, because for many older adults, losing control over their own finances feels like losing control over their own life. And holding on to that control as long as possible is one of the quietest but most powerful forms of resilience there is. The fourth thing is maintaining real active friendships, not just family relationships, which often continue almost automatically, but chosen friendships, people they call just to talk, people they meet for coffee, people who aren't obligated to stay in their life but do anyway, because the connection is mutual and real. Social researchers studying longevity have found again and again that the strength and breadth of someone's social network in later life is one of the most powerful predictors of both lifespan and quality of life, in some studies rivaling the impact of more commonly discussed factors like diet and exercise. Loneliness, by contrast, has been linked in extensive research to outcomes as serious as increased risk of heart disease, cognitive decline, and premature death, which means a person in their late 80s who still picks up the phone to check on a friend, who still shows up for a weekly card game or a Sunday lunch with people they've chosen to keep close, is doing something that is genuinely protecting their health in a very literal, measurable way. Friendship at this age isn't a nice extra, it's closer to medicine. And the people who maintain it deliberately, who put in the effort to keep those relationships alive even as travel gets harder and old friends pass away, are demonstrating a kind of emotional resilience that deserves far more recognition than it usually gets. The fifth habit is continuing to learn something new, whether that's picking up a new hobby, learning to use a smartphone or a tablet well enough to video call the grandchildren, working through a crossword or a puzzle that actually challenges them, or even something as simple as following current events closely enough to have an informed opinion about them. Cognitive scientists use the term cognitive reserve to describe the brain's built-up capacity to withstand age-related changes, and one of the most consistent findings in this field is that novelty, genuinely new mental challenges, rather than repetitive familiar ones, is one of the most effective ways to build and protect that reserve. A brain that's still being asked to learn, still forming new neural connections in response to unfamiliar problems, tends to stay more resilient against the kinds of decline that affect brains that have settled into pure routine. So when you see someone in their 80s determined to figure out a new phone, frustrated but persistent, refusing to just hand the problem to a grandchild and give up, understand that what looks like a small technological struggle is actually their brain doing exactly what keeps it young, reaching for something unfamiliar and refusing to back down from the discomfort of not knowing yet. And the sixth thing, maybe the quietest of all but in many ways the most telling, is still having something to look forward to, a trip being planned, a garden being tended for next spring, a family event circled on the calendar months in advance, a goal, however small, that pulls their attention forward into the future rather than only backward into memory. Psychologists who study aging and well-being have written extensively about the concept of future orientation, the degree to which a person continues to set goals and anticipate what's coming, and they've found it to be closely tied to both mental health and even physical health outcomes in older populations. People who stop planning, who stop looking forward to anything specific, often show measurable declines in both mood and vitality that go well beyond what age elect, while people who keep a reason to get up tomorrow, even something as modest as a favorite show returning or a grandchild's visit next month, tend to maintain a kind of vitality that's hard to fake and impossible to overstate. So if the person you're thinking of right now, a parent, a grandparent, maybe even yourself, is still cooking their own dinner, still walking around the neighborhood because they want to, still balancing their own checkbook, still picking up the phone to call an old friend, still wrestling with a new gadget, a sheer stubborn curiosity, and still has something circled on next month's calendar that they're genuinely excited about, then what you're witnessing isn't just someone getting older. What you're witnessing is someone actively, deliberately, quietly winning the fight that so many people lose far earlier than they need to, the fight to stay fully present in their own life, rather than simply existing through the years that are left. That's not luck, and it's rarely accidental. It's usually the result of decades of small choices, staying engaged, staying connected, staying curious, refusing to let go of independence a moment before they have to. And if someone is doing even 3 or 4 of these 6 things, they deserve to hear directly from you how extraordinary that really is, because chances are nobody has ever actually told them.